Welcome back to the... Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Conservative Voice on WWDB AM 860 in Philadelphia. This is your host, Gary Heasley. I'm in the studio with Ada Nestor. Ada, welcome.
Hello, hour two.
Yeah, hour two. It'll be a good hour, I'm sure, because we've got Emerald Robinson joining us in about 15 minutes. And, you know, for those that are aware, which I think is most people, Emerald is a former White House correspondent for OAN. She was there in that little room for a few years, and then she started a show called The Absolute Truth with Emerald Robinson, which is on Lindell TV, and she will join us at 1:15. So we'll be chatting with her then. But in the meantime, there are a couple other things to chat about, and one of those is a discussion we were having beforehand about this mother.
Oh, my gosh. Yes, this mother who is married to a man who serves our military.
I have the best news ever.
What? Donald Trump died?
Second best news.
The vice president died?
Okay, third best news.
That Elon Musk died?
Okay, no. Nobody died. My best friend's getting married.
Which one is it?
Taylor Swift! Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce got engaged!
They're being taught to cheer the death of people they disagree with politically at an age where they don't have any political views.
Yeah.
They know nothing.
And worse than that, they're being taught to like Travis Kelce.
Their mother's, beliefs that she's pumping into their heads, and it's troubling. I mean, I can't imagine being in a discussion with parents, say, in decades past, that somebody just got shot.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine it. The nature of that discussion. And then the thing they get really excited about is that this singer and some football guy got engaged, as if they have a personal relationship with
Her
them.
best friend, she said. This woman is so delusional. She said, my best friend just got engaged. This is a stranger on the internet. Like, they are not best friends. This woman is delusional.
That's right. Yeah, Taylor Swift does not know this woman exists.
Yeah.
And yet the belief is that somehow they have a personal relationship, and these kids know about it. Mm-hmm. So now the kids have been trained to celebrate, well, that would be celebrity.
Horror.
Well, on one hand, celebrate death of somebody that you don't like, and on the other hand, really celebrate the celebrity. Really go after these... A singer. This woman's a singer. They don't know anything about her. She does songs about, breakups with boyfriends and stuff. I mean,
and let's be real. Travis Kelce is an aging football player who, has had a real rough start this season.
Well, truth be told, I don't know anything about him.
I do.
I mean,
I'd be happy to tell you.
Go
He's
Birds.
off to a great start so far. Dropping passes in the end zone. Thank you, Travis. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Oh, so he's okay. There you go.
We just beat them. I know you don't watch football.
No, I don't watch football.
I do participate in some of the bread and circuses. Okay, I need a break, and I love my Philadelphia Eagles and the Phillies. So yeah, go Birds.
So
just
this guy's
beat the
still
Chiefs.
playing. I mean. But it's just the whole thing is preposterous. So not only are these kids being trained to celebrate death, and this goes to the whole discussion we had earlier about this culture of death that has been created in our youth. And we've seen this growing for years. If you go back 50 years, even 60, 70 years, you'll see that like kids went to school carrying guns.
Yeah,
they took guns to school because they had rifle class, they had rifle club.
They
would
rifle
hunt.
racks in their trucks. That like literally, that's where their guns were if they weren't using them.
That's right. They would go hunting after class. I know people that used to take shotguns to school and put them in their lockers.
Yeah.
Now these are people that would be, I don't know when they went to school. It was a long time ago. But that
the 1900s at some point.
It would have been in the before time. So it was a common practice, and there were no shootings. Nobody got shot at school. Mm-hmm. Nobody freaked out because a kid was walking down the hallway with a rifle. He was taking a rifle class. And now we've got this thing that's been developing for decades where kids are getting more and more violent. Yeah. And it is clear that there is a concerted effort in these schools. We've spent hours and hours talking about how kids in schools are not being educated in reading, writing, and arithmetic. They're being indoctrinated into an ideology. And part of the ideology is what we saw with these young children. that is really disturbing that these young girls are jumping up and down, celebrating this whatever this woman is and the football guy, and yet they're hoping that the good news is Donald Trump is dead, and that came up spontaneously.
Yeah.
If that wasn't scripted by mom, I mean, obviously it's scripted by mom in the bigger sense, but if she didn't tell him, now I'm going to turn on the camera, say this. If that was, and I think there's a good chance that was actually spontaneous.
I think it was totally spontaneous. I actually wrote a piece in Substack this week, and it's titled "The Catastrophic End of Militant Youth Indoctrination." And that is exactly what we're witnessing across the board, that this mother thinks whatever she's teaching her children behind the scenes, not on camera, that they came up with that spontaneously.
Right.
As their response should tell us what's going on behind the scenes. These people believe their ideology is worth fighting and dying over.
Well, and they believe that others think that. So it was in the middle
I think they might, though.
In the middle of the 15-16 campaign, I had someone I was talking to who was, I guess at that time, in his 60s, a gay man, had just a magnificent life, free, prosperous, travels the world. And he was talking about how Mike Pence is hunting gay people and really wants to kill them. If he gets to win, then he's going to mount a campaign to kill gay people. And this guy believed it.
Sure.
Now, he was otherwise a rational, productive, normal person. You could travel with him. You could go to dinner with him. It was fine until you got to politics. And all of a sudden it was, I'm being hunted. I'm oppressed. You take that out of an adult, get him to that point, imagine what they've done to these kids.
Yeah.
And we've also talked about the way sexuality has been promoted in these schools so that they drive these kids down this idea of saying, question everything, even your identity, even your gender. Your parents aren't bad people. They're just ignorant. They just don't know anything.
They just don't understand you.
Yeah. I talked to a kid that had just graduated a few years earlier, met him in Tennessee, and he talked about what it was like to come out of college as what he called a regular leftist like everyone else. He had a brother who was a policeman who he said would not give up on him and took him on ride-alongs and other things so he could see reality, and it shifted him back to being normal. He was a Trump voter in 20. But he said without his brother, he would be absolutely as radicalized as everyone else his age.
And they are. The radicalization, I think people thought maybe it died down because in the last few years it has been a little quiet if you are comparing it to the summer of love of 2020, right? We're not seeing these riots that we saw. Any marches were kind of limited. Protests were very situational. They weren't as widespread.
Mm-hmm.
I think those people simply got quiet, started organizing, and started training. And if you go on Reddit and you look at some of these Reddit pages, they give each other instructions. They motivate each other to take violent acts. They encourage violence against those who they disagree with. Even in the Twitch community, you have people, Twitch is a gaming video platform streaming service. You go on and you play Call of Duty and everyone can watch what you're doing, right? Well, there's radicals on there telling people that they should be violent, that they should take to the streets, that they should physically make these people, us, afraid to be in public because they think that if we're afraid to be in public, then maybe Trump will dial down the temperature. Well, guess what? Trump's the one that got shot. It's our people being shot at these events now, apparently, right? So
our
we're
people are
afraid
students
enough.
or passersby. Sometimes it's random people that are just, at a grocery store or in a crowd, and it's just completely out of control. The idea that I don't want to go back to Kimmel in any length, but the comment that he made, which was clearly not something he came up on his own, that the MAGA world or Republicans or conservatives were trying to make the shooter that shot Charlie Kirk, trying to make him not be one of theirs, but that is what he was.
Yeah,
he was
MAGA.
A conservative MAGA. That was ridiculous, preposterous on its face, but they pushed those narratives. Now, I know a guy who's a smart guy who uses Reddit all the time. He's in Reddit every day, all day long.
I go on, but not for enjoyment.
Well, it's a good place to find out what they're thinking.
Yep.
But it is something that he's in constantly, and we've seen him move more and more and more radical over time, to the point that we really, we almost really can't communicate with him anymore. We can talk about something silly like, a sandwich at a restaurant or something that we're having or whatever. but you cannot have a substantive conversation with them. And then behind the wall at Reddit are these moderators.
Mm-hmm. Ghislaine Maxwell was a famous secret moderator
Yes.
on an anti-Trump group on Reddit.
And if you don't know who the moderators are, and they're in there actively working it all day, and you're subjected to that, how do you know that the information you're getting is good or bad? Well, that's the thing. The people in Reddit aren't asking those questions. That's the community where they think they're learning what's going on in the world. And that's far more important to them than corporate media.
It's the moderators curating the content on each of these pages. They are curating what you see. And if they have a particular ideology that they are hoping to instill into you, they're only going to approve the posts that further their mission.
Right. So when you think about this, it is not a one-off thing that some kid's just sitting in his bedroom and he just gets the idea, hey, I'm going to go to school and do something violent today, or one kid that's just sitting in his room alone. There has been a conspiracy of years that has been put in place to drive these kids to a certain ideology. We all know the goal. The goal is to basically undermine Western civilization. We've seen this in a lot of what we've done. But this ideology has been pushed in these children, and they've been pushed to more and more extreme views. And now, we see the outcome. There are litter boxes in some schools.
Yeah.
Litter boxes. And that's bizarre.
And if you already have lost your grasp on reality, right, which I would argue anyone who believes they're an animal or the opposite sex has lost their objective relationship with reality, it seems that population of people could easily be swayed to lose grasp of reality in other situations that could drive them to violence, which is what we're seeing.
So there's got to be a spark, a trigger that pushes them off the end. And one of the questions being asked now is, what's that trigger? What is the trigger that's pushing them off at the end? But the foundational build out of the foundation that is done with Twitch and Reddit and frankly with movies, with all the media.
Discord, Signal. I mean, it's not necessarily the platform, really. I mean, you can find hatred on every single platform.
Yes.
But it is prolific in some of these.
Moderated, targeted propaganda that is designed to move kids to an extremist point of view where they may then be able to be triggered to take action. Yeah. And maybe some of them spontaneously come up with it on their own. Maybe. But
I think it's networks.
Going back to the whole MK Ultra thing, on all the sub-operations of that, decades and huge amounts of money spent trying to figure out how to manipulate people into doing things they would not otherwise do.
Entrapment, of which we saw a perfect example in the last few years of the Whitman assassination plot.
Oh,
those
Governor
attorneys,
Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan.
Yep. Yeah. So these FBI agents got into a chat room on Discord or something with these men and gave them all the instructions on how you would carry out such an attack and essentially entice them or entrap them into considering it, or I'm not even sure of all the details. The most important detail is, though, they were not found guilty. They were freed because they did not come up with the plan and they did not carry out a plan. They were pushed to it.
Well, that's right. And they were given the explosives. They were given the money. Yeah. They were given the plans. They were given the vehicles. I mean, so it's one of these things. There was, and that's not a new act.
No.
If you go back to a guy named John DeLorean, we've talked about him a long, long time ago, but John DeLorean was a GM official. He left General Motors and went out to start his own company. He made this stainless steel car that was really modernistic and future-looking, and that, of course, became the car in Back to the Future, the DeLorean. Well, his car company was targeted by all the major manufacturers. They used Congress to go after him. They went after him on safety issues and other things. And in the end, then, his company needed $17 million. Everybody knew it, so he was approached by someone. It turned out that he ends up in the middle of a drug deal where he's told he's going to get $21 million or something. And everyone in the room but him is an FBI agent. The people that brought the drugs were FBI. The people that brought the money were FBI. The people that bought the drugs were FBI. The people that took the... And they just got a guy that was so desperate and manipulated him until they got him to that point. Now, he was broken. That was the end of DeLorean Motors. That was the end of his adventure with this incredible car, which was really awesome.
Yeah, that's I've never heard that story before. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, DeLorean was, and then
I know DeLorean. I know. Yeah, I didn't know.
In the end, in the end, he was acquitted, as it was entrapment.
Yeah.
And so then we see that with him, and decades later with the Gretchen Whitmer story.
There's a playbook.
There's
and
a
if you know
playbook.
the plays, you can see them pulling it out
Right.
and using different pages from it.
Well, and think about it. With the Whitmer story, it wasn't about getting those guys. Nobody cared about those guys. With DeLorean, they
No.
wanted DeLorean. They wanted to
Yeah.
stop his company. Here, they just wanted a media story they could push.
To say, these people pushing against our policies, we're trying to save lives. Look at what happened. These men tried to kill me. Everyone be quiet. Don't criticize us.
Just think about how crazy this is that they said, in order to create talking points,
Yep.
we're going to create a scheme to entrap these guys in a kidnapping. It's crazy.
And honestly, thank God they had good attorneys because
Oh,
I
yeah.
bet you, I would probably bet, I'd bet $100, let's say, there have been more cases than we know where this has happened and those people were found guilty and are sitting in prison
Oh,
now.
I'm sure. Now, remember, one of the ways I think that case got started was that they had a friend call and say, hey, you should talk to this person and talk to them about what they're doing. And they sort of sucked them in. And that friend, of course, was in trouble. The FBI used him. The complexity of that scheme was so extraordinary. And then what happened to the guy who led that scheme? He ended up in D.C., I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Is he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He ended up being in the office in D.C. somewhere around January 6th.
Nice.
So
Right. The agent
Remember?
involved. Yes. You're correct.
So this is such a complex conspiracy for them to put together just to get talking points to push on corporate media that would have just made up the story anyway. Like, they didn't have to actually do this. Corporate media would say anything for them. So I think we have to stop and question everything around us always and think carefully. Does that make sense? When you see these things that just seem to not make sense, it's okay to say, does that make sense?
Right.
Right? I mean, there's some other things that we talk about that are happening in Pennsylvania in politics. You're looking around going, this is just silly. I mean, it's obviously not true. This is obviously silly. And yet the way the zeitgeist moves, the sort of conservative or Republican community in Pennsylvania is following nonsense because it's being pushed their way.
Speaking of Pennsylvania, since we may have a minute here before Emerald joins us, I think she just called in.
She's in, yeah.
We have 5 bills, gun control bills, being pushed in Pennsylvania. While everyone is distracted by everything else, they are going to try and push 5 separate gun control bills through the PA committee into the House and vote on that.
Yeah.
If they get that through, Shapiro will sign these bills. Real quick, HB 837 is handgun rationing. HB 1099, it deals with so-called ghost guns. HB 1593 is a gun registry by stripping current transfer provisions. HB 1859 is a red flag regime. HB 1866 redefines offensive weapon to ban items like Glock switches on top of the existing federal law. So I also have a call to action on my Substack. If anyone wants to grab that, my Reflections from the Edge gives you a template that you can use to call, text, post on social media. Let them know that we will not accept these restrictions on our Second Amendment.
So, this is an important thing. Now, there have been a lot of bills that go through the House on gun control and other things that are just crazy now. And the only barrier that Pennsylvania has to letting any of these things get through are 3 extra seats in the Senate.
Thin line.
It is an incredibly delicate.